Arsenal have scored the most goals, conceded the second least amount of goals, and have faced by far the least expected goals out of any team in Europe's Big Five leagues in 2024. However, one thing that has been consistent throughout their entire 23-24 campaign is how rock solid their back line is. So we're here to break down how it could be Arsenal's defence that wins them the Premier League title. So far this Premier League season, Arsenal have conceded the least goals, the least amount of expected goals, the least amount of non-penalty expected goals, and have faced the least amount of shots on target, and have the most clean sheets. They've also opened the scoring more often than any other team, and in turn have won the most points when netting first this season. And Mikel Arteta deserves a lot of credit for how well driven his teams are off the ball, how compact their block is, and how well Arsenal win their duels. People often liken Arteta's style to that of his former mentors Pep Guardiola, but interestingly this season especially they have huge differences. Arteta in bigger games embraces the defensive side of the game, in his selections and coaching way more often than Pep Guardiola, which is highlighted in Arsenal's record against the top half of the table this campaign. They've conceded just 13 goals in 13 games against the current top half of the Premier League this season, which is greater than Liverpool's 15 conceded in 12, and more notably Manchester City's 15 conceded in 10. Arsenal's underlying numbers are even more impressive though. Against the top half they conceded just 8.57 non-penalty expected goals, in comparison to Manchester City's 11.48 and Liverpool's whopping 17.18. Arguably Arsenal this season have become more secure and conservative. In their 1-0 win at home against Manchester City, they had less possession, made fewer passes, and had less overall pass accuracy. But this is how Arteta is getting the best out of his players in bigger games. It was a Gabriel header against Erling Haaland that in fact won Arsenal the ball back in this sequence. From here, they clipped the ball directly over the top of Manchester City's block. And it's Tomiyasu and Kai Havertz who knock it down into space for Gabriel Martinelli to capitalise on. And for all the possession and territory that their opposition had against them, Manchester City registered just 4 shots. And all it took was an old school punt up to the big man to outdo the treble winners. Whilst a good chunk of credit should go to Arteta for being able to create this narrow, compact and almost impenetrable 4-4-2, Gabriel and William-Saliba have been 2 of the best central defenders in the Premier League this season. It's mostly down to their partnership and why they can concede so much possession while still controlling football matches. The difference between Arsenal when the duo start in comparison to when they don't start is staggering. When the pair start together, they have a huge 73 win percentage. However, if just one of the 2 centre-backs aren't starting, this plummets down to 53.3%. It's no surprise that their goals for game jump from 0.9 with the pair to 1.4 without, whilst their shots against also increase from 8.5 to 9.9. But Arsenal still average the 3rd most possession in the Premier League, and when they're in the attacking phase they want to push a lot of bodies forward. This is why both the defenders must have the ability to defend high up the pitch, especially when they're going 1v1. And it's essential to the modern game when you want to push so many bodies forward and squeeze together the pitch. They need to have the speed and strength to win their contact duels, the towering height to win their aerial duels, and the technical ability to be able to recover the ball, play out from the back and reset their in-possession structure. And that's exactly what the pair have. The data even backs up this point. Saliba is 3rd and Gabriel is 9th highest in the percentage of dribblers tackled in the Premier League this campaign. And forming a successful centre-half partnership is all about yin and yang, and Gabriel and Saliba are no different. Saliba likes to defend space, rarely ever engages in contact, and he's the more progressive passer of the 2. Gabriel, meanwhile, likes to get his hands dirty, is much more the aggressor, front-footed, dominant in both sets of duels, and is the more likely of the 2 to throw himself at something. The pair don't even share the same strong foot. They are quite simply perfect for each other. They can play in multiple different dynamics too. Against Burnley we can see how they've set up with their back 3, with their left back Jakub Kiwior slotting in as a left centre back, with their right back Ben White inverting into midfield to stand next to Declan Rice, with Kai Havertz and Martin Ødegaard making up the rest of their box midfield. From here, Saliba aimed from an area of the pitch with a longer and more direct ball. Arsenal managed to collapse 5 bodies around the first and second contacts, and from here Arsenal have completely bypassed the build-up phase of the game. They win the ball high from their counter-press, and they feed it to Saka who scores from his 1v1 opportunity. Outside of the centre-back partnership, Arteta has still favoured defensive players in his signings. For example, Declan Rice, who leads the tackles and interception ranks in Arsenal's squad this season. Kai Havertz, who's won the 2nd most aerial duels in the squad this season too. So, do you think it could be Arsenal's defence that could potentially win them the Premier League title? Or do you believe Manchester City and Liverpool have the upper hand because of their experiences in these title races?